You know, even though I pride myself on being an anime geek, it's really been a long time that there was a season where I've been following more than just one or two shows at a time. Was about time that that finally changed. When I was a kid, watching anime was a matter of coming home and simply turning on the TV. There's that one TV station that used to have a whole long weekday afternoon block dedicated to nothing but shonen and shoujo shows, years before I even realized what either of those terms meant. Nowadays the channel only shows cheap soaps and reality shows. Ugh. Point being, these days when I follow a show regularly, I'm doing it on purpose and not just because it happens to be on, which has drastically reduced my overall anime consume ever since I entered adulthood. Now and then I'd rewatch an old show, a marathon, a completed show on Crunchyroll, or other outlets. But those days when I'd watch several different shows in the same week are long gone. Or so I thought. Until this season happened. Because holy crap, that's a lot of shows I wanna see. And I've been watching them. Well, most of them. And I've got opinions. So I'm gonna share them now. With you guys. You're welcome. First, I'm gonna go through the shows that I really want to watch this season but haven't had the chance to yet. Then I'm gonna delve into my opinions on the shows that I've actually been keeping up with. That said, without any further ado, let's go. What Neni wants to watch but hasn't had the chance to yet because time is a limited resource. Cutie Honey Universe. I have this weird appreciation for Cutie Honey. I'm not really into the soft porn elements of it all, but I know what the manga and especially the shows have meant to the industry and how they've paved the way for the magical girl genres that would follow. Plus, anyone who knows me is probably aware that flashy transformations of any sort are definitely the way to get my heart going. That said, I've never actually watched more than 2 or 3 episodes of any given Cutie Honey show yet, and thought this might be a good chance to fill in that specific hole in my trivial knowledge. If only they didn't change the opening! Ah! Why would you even do that? The original song is iconic! Seriously, 40 years and 4 different anime series religiously kept this song like the sacred gift from God that it is. And then you come along and think you can just change it? What the hell, Cutie Honey Universe? Seriously though, I wanna check this one out. Just not right now. Cardcaptor Sakura. Clear Cut Hen. I watched and read a lot of Clam's works when I was a kid, but somehow never really managed to get into Cardcaptor Sakura, so I thought this might be a good time to get to that. Just not right now. Because shows. Loads of shows. I just feel like I owe myself that one though. Eventually. Gegege no Kitaro. I know absolutely nothing about Gegege no Kitaro except that it's about yokai and has a cute protagonist. And also that it's a classic. But I can't help it. I'm interested. Maybe I won't like it when I eventually check it out, but, well, I got time to decide that once I check it out. I guess the fact that I like old stuff really helps. Boku no Hero Academia. Okay, don't freak out. I have watched the first and second seasons, and I've even read a considerable amount of the manga. It's just, I haven't exactly been keeping up with it lately. Because again, time is the currency to end all currencies. But I really love this show and I really want to catch up with it. My Hero Academia is just this rare anomaly of a shonen that somehow does all the things that you'd expect a shonen show to do, yet does them also darn well that you can't help but be sucked in. The main character is lovable and sincere in his struggles, the world building and superpowers are sparking with creativity, and the lore and story are heart-wrenching, smart, and even surprisingly deep at times. Kohei Hirokoshi says that he was inspired by Naruto and manga like it to make this story of his own, but if you ask me, he's got them all beat when it comes to character and storytelling. If the quality didn't miraculously nosedive after the point I'm caught up to, which I really hope it didn't, this is one of the best shows of the past 2 decades, so I'll definitely get back to it very soon. As soon as I'm caught up with what Neni is watching right now. BINAN CHIKYUU BOUEBU Happy Kiss. The least interesting thing first, I guess. Yeah, I've actually been thinking about dropping this one, and the only reason that I haven't yet is pretty much some vague hope that certain characters from previous installments will eventually show up, though at this point I really doubt it. For those who don't know, BINAN KOUKOU CHIKYUU BOUEBU, also known as CUTIE Earth Defense Club, or more commonly, that Magical Boy anime, is a franchise that's been running since 2015. It's pretty much a take on classical magical girl action franchises like Sailor Moon or Precure, except it's pure comedy and all the characters are male. And I mean like, all male. That said, it's incredibly sincere about what it's parodying, and you can feel real love for the magical girl genre coming from the show, especially in how lovingly the beautiful, sparkling, pure, colorful transformation sequences are animated. Excuse me. Anyway, I was a real fan of the first 2 seasons because they really knew how to make fun of shows like Precure without being insulting about it. The characters were pretty cute too, even if a little underdeveloped here and there, something that the show even admitted. And the team leader Yumoto was just so gosh darn adorable and full of energy all the time that it was genuinely heartbreaking whenever he had one of those trademarked traumatic magical girl breakdown moments. That said, by the end of the 2 seasons I'd genuinely fallen in love with all of these cute doofuses. And I guess that's why I really can't with the new show. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still doing all of the same things, still parodying magical girl shows without hating on them, still displaying a lot of love for the genre, and it still has those flashy transformations too. Focus, Neni, bad Neni. But that said, the new cast really doesn't interest me in the slightest. It's kind of sad when the most lovable and nicely designed character in your show is the freaking mascot. Aside from that, we've got nice guy, bully, aggressive smart guy, Yumoto light, and first generation Pokemon choke. The last one being the main character. Oh boy. How exactly am I supposed to get invested in a lead who spends the majority of each episode sleeping or trying to accidentally drown himself? This is supposed to be the guy who we identify with, right? I don't want to be the motivated show, I really don't, but you're making it so hard for me. I swear, whenever this character opens his mouth, I shed a tear and just wish for Yumoto to show up from behind a tree or something and take over. Please, show! I beg on you! Release me of the suffering! I'm vaguely more interested in the villains, but that's it, really. The show just doesn't hold my attention. At all. I'll probably get back to finish it eventually, but right now, I'm not feeling it. Sleeping is not an endearing character trait. Lostorage CONFLATED WIXOSS. I love card games. And I love WIXOSS, I really do. The card game is amazing, fast-paced fun, and the ongoing anime is nothing to scoff at either. WIXOSS is really a criminally underrated and overlooked show. I recently wrote a post about it on my blog where I attributed that to the franchise's numerous flaws, but upon rewatching the first season with Triple lately, I think I might actually have been a bit too harsh on it. Like, yeah, the things I mentioned are still there and definitely contribute to why so few people give the show a chance, but at the same time, they don't really take away from the show's strengths. WIXOSS as a series has amazing characters, pacing and atmosphere that consistently keep you on the edge of your seat, and the music is pretty darn amazing too. Honestly, there's not one opening in the franchise I can watch without breaking into song. Their music is just so good. But let's take a step back now. WIXOSS is a trading card game where each deck is built around one specific character called a Lyric, which acts as the player's avatar. The goal of the game is to take out the opposing Lyric by summoning foot soldiers called Signi and attacking the opponent's Lyric with them as well as with your own Lyric. Think of it as a cross between Angelic Layer and Yu-Gi-Oh! The anime is fairly dark and spans multiple seasons, each with its own title, but the basic premise is that the WIXOSS card game has been infected, hence the title of the first season, with the despair and desires of certain people playing it, which gives birth to a phenomenon known as selector battles. Selectors being WIXOSS players whose Lyric cards come to life and make them participate in supernatural card games where their wishes, memories and souls are at stake. The story is pretty complex and sprawls not only over 4 anime seasons, but also several manga and novels. But if you're a fan of stuff that examines human nature, and especially the darker side of it, this show is definitely worth giving a try. That said, the latest season is the one that most feels like a classic card game anime, with friendship themes, teamwork, and our main characters actually working towards facing a specific villain. It seems like it's building up towards tying up as many of the current loose ends as possible, giving as many characters from previous seasons and the manga installments as possible spotlight, and I'm loving it. That's not to say it's flawless though. Having as many characters as it does, the show spends a lot of time building up the main characters' motivations to act by getting their friends kidnapped. En masse. I mean, really, at this point it feels like everyone who's not had top billing on a poster in the franchise before is at risk of being swept off to another castle. It's sort of ridiculous. I mean, jeez! I know it's hard to write a lot of characters at once, but isn't there something else you could be doing with the ones you don't want to give much screen time to? Like, anything? We really didn't need to make this Mokuba Kaiba the anime, you know. Still, I love it. Just don't kidnap everyone! Jesus! Everybody's kidnapped, Dave. Everybody. Mahou Shoujo Ore. Oh look, it's another magical boy anime. Except this one is actually a girl. Sort of. It's complicated. Mahou Shoujo Ore was a manga that started publication around the time I spent my own exchange year in Japan, and I have to admit, I didn't think too much of it back then. I read a couple of chapters and it didn't really grab my interest, so I stopped. The anime though? Oh my god, I don't even understand it, but once you put the story to animation, it somehow just works. It's really weird. I just know I'm hooked. And trust me, I'm hooked on Mahou Shoujo Ore is not a sentence I was expecting to be saying this season or any season. This is the story of Saki, a girl who has a crush on a male idol called Mohiro Mikage, who happens to be gay. Her best friend is Mohiro's sister, Sakuyo, who also happens to be gay, and in love with Saki. And as if this love triangle doesn't sound unfortunate enough already, Saki and Sakuyo end up becoming magical girls. Except the transformation turns them into huge, muscle-bound, bada men, wearing cute dresses, because the mascot thought that this was the most practical way to do it. And what's more, Mohiro ends up falling for Saki, in her male form. So, yeah, this is the relationship chart right now. Pretty unfortunate, right? But hilarious. Really hilarious. I swear, this show has all the same loving commitment to parodying the magical girl genre that made me fall in love with BOUEBU, but also adds this whole gender fucking take on a love triangle, which is just so much more entertaining to watch than your standard love triangle. Add all the self-awareness and self-deprecating jokes about the industry the animation studio added, and it's just a really amusing ride. Not only are the jokes funny and the characters very likable, and by this I mean Sakuyo is likable, she makes the show, my queen, take me. But this show actually makes me care about the rom-com aspect of it much more than any other show has ever done. I want Saki to be happy, but I also want Sakuyo to be happy. But Sakuyo wants to be with Saki, and Saki wants to be with Mohiro. And Mohiro wants to be with Saki, but only when Saki is 6 foot tall and has a dick. Nobody can win here. Nobody! And that kind of makes it amazing, in a very sad but also very hilarious way. It's like a modern tragic comedy. I'd be lying if I said anything other than that I'm really enjoying it. I mean, sure, it's not very smart, not very pretty, not very original, but it just works, you know? It's just likable and funny. Not a masterpiece by any means, but I like watching it. So I guess I'll continue doing so. Saki and Sakuyo OTP. Fight me. Persona 5 the animation. Oh come on, you knew that this was coming, didn't ya? Yeah, as any good Persona fan, I'm pretty much obligated to follow this one as religiously as possible. Though I have to admit, the show really isn't making it easy for me. And that's not entirely just because German Crunchyroll doesn't have it on simulcast, forcing me to go on in order to watch it, though it certainly plays a part. But the much bigger thing is the fact that I've seen all of this before. And by that I don't just mean that I've played Persona 5. As for many others, the Persona 4 anime was the first and initial introduction to the Persona franchise that I got. And even though I fell in love with it right away, even I could easily see the glaring flaws the show had in comparison to the game that it was based on. Namely, pacing, the unnecessary addition of unfunny jokes, an unhealthy obsession with copying parts of the game UI in ways that just doesn't work in an anime, and, oh god, the animation. But at least, you know, the show did add some stuff that wasn't there before. Like some fluff scenes between the characters, some genuinely funny moments, and the entirety of Yu Narukami's personality. That's more than I can say for Persona 5, the anime though. Bad pacing, unfitting use of the game's UI, and 15 FPS animation are all things I've seen before in the Persona 4 anime, but at least that one made up for those things with something. The Persona 5 anime though? It's just the game! With really nothing much added. Everything happens in roughly the same order, there's barely any scenes that weren't there in the game, and Ren doesn't really stand out in any way. Heck, in most scenes he just seems to disappear and blend into the background, like he's not even really there. That's not an issue that Yu ever had, because they made sure to have Yu stand out and be unique in his own eccentric way. Whether or not you like that take on his character is a matter of taste, of course, but at least they tried with him. Ren is just the same vessel for the player's identity that he's always been, except there's no player this time around. You'd think the anime would elaborate a bit on his trauma of being convicted of a crime that he didn't commit, but so far, nothing. The most memorable scene in the show so far, aside from the infamous 15 FPS all-out attack, is the party assaulting a pixie. That's it. By this point in the Persona 4 anime, Yu had already snuck his way to hell and back at Yosuke and declared the unbearable pain of being bitten by Teddy in the most hilariously deadpan of ways. Can we have some of that, please? Like, I know the show is far from over yet. I expect it to last at least 24 to 26 episodes like the Persona 4 anime did, so it still has plenty of time to improve, but right now, I really don't see how this adaptation works as anything other than a watered down version of the source material. I can only hope they're going to add something that really leaves an impression. Deja vu. Caligula, or Caligula effect if you like going for the localized name. This one really was a surprise. I didn't even know it was airing until the season had already started, but I was immediately hooked, which is no surprise given what the show is. For those who don't know, Caligula Effect is a psychological RPG written by Tadashi Satomi, the writer of the first 3 Persona games. That's right, we got another game adaptation from the same genre as Persona 5 airing in the same season. Talk about an overdose? That said, when it comes to adaptations, Caligula is the polar opposite of Persona 5 so far. I haven't played the original Caligula yet, but from what people who did play it tell me, the game had issues with glitches, story pacing, and its own version of the social link system, causing it to not be all that well received in comparison to its big cousin Persona 5. The anime, however, seems to improve on all of that. Not only was the structure of the story completely changed to seamlessly include all of the characters' side stories and form one coherent narrative, the main character, Ritsu, is given an actual arc, issues, quirks, and a personality of his own. In this adaptation, Ritsu is a psychology nerd who always questions the world around him and seems to have a secret, deeper connection with the main antagonist, Miu. That's so much more than was required of this character, and yet they went out of their way to expand on him like that. Do you see this, Persona 5 anime? Do you see this? This is how you make a formerly silent protagonist interesting. Gosh darn it, why can't the Persona 5 anime be like this? Can we swap the studios and staff of these 2 adaptations, please? I blame A1 Pictures for this. Yeah, Cloverworks. Just you go and hide behind an alias. We all know who you really are. But yeah, Caligula is great. Like, really great. It really makes me want to play the game, despite all the bad things I've heard about it. You can definitely feel the shared DNA between this story and Persona. The characters wouldn't be out of place at all in a Persona game, and they have all of the nuanced and layered writing that you'd expect of that too. The plot is not exactly original, but it feels fresh and like its very own take on the concept, especially when compared to the similar plot used by Tadashi Satomi in Persona 1. Honestly, to anyone bored with the Persona 5 anime, who's craving for something else that's similar to our beloved Atlas franchise, I can only recommend this show. It's a great way to tide us over until we finally learn more about Persona Q2. Also, I'll never be rid of this theme song now, just so you know. Son of Persona! So yeah, that's what I've been watching this season. There's a few really good shows there, one that I really want to drop, one that's a guilty pleasure in some ways. But all in all, I'm really positively surprised by this season, and I just hope the next one is going to follow up soon. I hope you did enjoy hearing my opinions on all of this. It's definitely really fun for me to share them with you guys. I want to hear your opinions too. Have you watched any of these shows? What do you think about them? Is there anything else you really think I should be checking out? You can feel free to comment about this. I would really love to hear about it. Also, if you really like this video, give it a like, and subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more like this. Again, if this video does well, I will probably do more of this in future seasons, and I'll try to generally watch more anime in the future than I've been in the past few years. If you want to support me in an even more substantial way, you can go free to check out my Patreon. As I've said before, every dollar counts. That said, I'll see you all soon. There's a lot of videos I wanna do in the near future. There will probably soon be a live stream between me, Triple, and Randy. Once we do it, we'll announce it on my blog. It's gonna be a fun one, trust me. We've had that idea for a while now. We have a lot of ideas of what we're gonna do. So yeah, that's it for me for now. See you guys later. Bye!